So it's been a few days since we've been able to use all the new units that have come out with the Super Trunks celebration, and honestly, I am a little disappointed, right? In terms of the overall designs of these characters, and I just want to talk about them today in terms of like how I would actually make changes to these characters and things like that, and what my issues with them are, because I feel like a lot of people are confused because when we got the details for Super Trunks himself, the transform state is very, very strong. And then his base form is kind of weak, and people are kind of like conflicted. And people are like, what? I thought Trunks was like, best TUR level, top 10 or top 3 TUR level, even best unit of the game level, right? What's going on? And there's also transforming Vegeta as well, who honestly, I would say transforming Vegeta ended up being kind of an underwhelming EZA. In the landscape, like in the total, how to explain it? In the total scheme of things, transforming Vegeta kinda ended up being a little underwhelming overall as a unit, and people are like, well, transforming Vegeta is good, Trunks is good, right? But I would say all these units are underwhelming at the end of the day. We'll talk about Trunks first, right? I think that obviously the biggest issue for Trunks is this line right here really does kill him. Having to have the 3 Android Soul Psychic category allies, and then he gets high chance to guard. It's not even guaranteed, right, or anything like that. It's very weird that they're giving us so many of these units that, like, okay, they have a restriction, and then if you achieve that restriction, they might be able to do something for you, right? maybe they'll do something if you set your team up a very specific way. He might do something, right? And I feel like it's very annoying. And I don't really see the point in that being a thing, since I mean, they know how restrictive this is. Like, do they think Android Soul Saga is a good team? Like, okay, if we're running Trunks under his, his own leader skill, like him and his friend, the friend counts, right? So, well, Age-O Gohan, and then, I don't know, Tech Androids could be a solid option. Maybe Physical Future Gohan. Piccolo, we can't run this team, really, no. Right now, anyways. So it's like, okay. And then, but what about, like, I don't know, let's say Super Saiyan's team, or like Full Power, or Saviors, or Heavenly Events, or something like Power Beyond Super Saiyan. Like any of these teams, so many of these teams, you can't get that restriction in. So he's pretty much just stuck on his own team, and you have to run 2 of these Trunkses. But then these Trunkses with their higher chances to guard, coin flip chance, you just die, really, right? Their defense doesn't really get that high like the Trunks' defense. They could take quite a lot of damage from these bosses, Esther, Omega, Physical Metacooler Core, eventually later on, against Broly. Maybe if you get this guy against AoE Broly, right? Depending on if you have to float him off, if he's in slot 7, if you just kill the enemy before he can even get all of his attacks off on a certain turn, right? There's a bunch of different situations, where this Trunks may not be able to get all the attacks. It's not guaranteed. Turn 5. Okay, yeah, turn 5, he does all 5 of these attacks, you're good, right? 2 attacks, turn 1, active skill, and 2 attacks, turn 2. Easy, man. His third turn 5, easy transformation. No. It's not like that, and especially if, like, let's say you have this guy, right? Let's say you have this Trunks, right? The first Trunks guards. Then the Trunks in the next rotation, he doesn't guard. You fall under 60% HP. You can't even get the active skill. You can't get the third attack. So unless you get Hidden Potential System, you're just delayed another turn without having the ability to transform to Super Trunks. It's like a lot of these shenanigans can occur. And, it could be because, he takes too much damage or anything like that. I don't necessarily think it's a transformation, that's like the biggest issue, because Super Trunks himself, I understand why they want to restrict this guy so much, but they could have made him weaker, or just make this guy more consistent, right? I don't see the point. Where, okay, this guy is like 80% of this guy's power and his value is Super Trunks. But then he's so... I would honestly say he just almost sucks, right, when he's Super Saiyan Trunks compared to Dokkan Fest TUR level units we have seen, right? As a unit himself, I guess people have to understand, when I say this Trunks, like, sucks, it's not that, he's, like, actually useless, right? He's better than a lot of units in the game, obviously. But we're comparing him to Dokkan Festival units. This is a new Dokkan Festival character. They expect you guys, okay, we're putting this banner out right before Worldwide Celebration, and you choose to summon on this banner, or you choose to save for Worldwide. And that's what the Trunks' position is. So you would expect him to be valuable as a unit. You would expect him to be at least on par overall with some of these units that have been coming out recently. You know, Kale, even 23rd World Tournament Goku, Piccolo, right? I'd say he's better than Turles overall. But man, it's like, it's really because Super Trunks is carrying him so hard. Super Saiyan Trunks is coin flip chance you die, right? That's really it. If you have to run him in slot 1 and he doesn't guard, especially, like, it's very, very bad. So I mean, very clearly, this honestly, the biggest change I would make to this character, make his guard chance guaranteed at bare minimum. And you know what they could do is they could make the guard chance guaranteed, and then maybe instead of this, when it's performing a super attack, make it when guard is activated, right? The additional 70% attack and defense. So then he gets all that attack and defense basically start of turn, and that makes him a much more reliable slot 1 character for early on, which could be very helpful. And if they really wanted to be nice, add attack lowering on here. You know, that'd be helpful for this guy against the new Omega stage, the Sin Shenron stage as well. That'd be helpful for him in. It would just make this guy so much more consistent, and I agree, this restriction sucks, but I'd much rather this guy, you know, even if he has this restriction, make him consistent when you have to restrict him to a certain specific team. And it's very frustrating that he's restricted because he's on so many of these teams. Additionally, just get rid of this restriction and just make this normal. Like, I don't see the issue with that, right? Even if it's just a high chance guard baseline, at least, you know, you don't have to run 3 other Android Cell Saga category units on this team, and it makes this guy an option on like every other team. Where even if you might not guard and everything like that, you could have him as like a second slot unit on some other teams that do need the help and could really use a unit like this guy on the team, right? And it could be very, very helpful. But yeah, that's the issue with the Trunks. He's so restricted, but then this unit sucks so bad. And then this guy's not even restricted at all. He's just a gamer. He's really good. But even this Trunks, man, you can't even run him really slot 1 sometimes. I mean, he has the Usher, but if you fall under 60% HP with this guy, it's like you can't even use this Ghost Usher, which is his biggest, like, that's his biggest thing. That's his thing, right? This is what this Trunks' thing is, right? And yeah, without that, he's kind of not really like, he's good still, really, really good, because he guaranteed double supers and guards, but like he can't really be around in slot 1 like that. And if, again, like I said, if you're under 60% HP, you lose this stats, which it is pretty massive, 200%. If you lose like half of that, that's pretty massive considering how his multiplicative passive will work. But yeah, that's the thing with Trunks here. This Gohan just straight up sucks. I don't know what they're thinking. He has like 2021 support. He doesn't have any strong defensive abilities to let him build this up. He has this additional that has a great chance to become a super, but you have to be above 70% HP. And it's like, okay, maybe they're thinking about this heal, but that doesn't activate this passive, so what's the point, right? It should be when he's attacking, and there's 70% more HP. This doesn't make sense, right? It's like almost like they don't understand how their own game works. And then this buff, again, this buff is horrible. Like, what are they actually thinking with this Gohan? Like, I'd say this is fine, but then no defense raise here, no guard, no dodge, or anything like that. This he takes so much damage to build this up, and then his defense doesn't even get to like a reasonable level. Like his defense is like really low as well. But it's just really, really funny. I genuinely don't know what they were thinking with this Gohan, honestly. Like, again, I really like the healing aspect, but because this healing aspect works really well with Trunks. Do you know why this healing aspect works really well with Trunks? Because Trunks wants to be above a certain HP condition for this active skill, and then he wants to be a certain HP condition for Super Trunks' active skill, right? But then you can't even like take advantage of that because this guy just dies. Right? He just dies. He's dead. Goodbye. Yeah, you suck, man. I mean, honestly, just give him guard. Bare minimum, just give him guard. Who cares? Slot 3 guard, and he's really good. It's so simple. It's that simple, man. I mean, even if you want to give him slot 1 guard, if you want to go crazy like that, but like a slot 3 guard, I think would be good. And make this give like key 3 attack and defense 40%. Like these categories suck. They why would you give 2 key and 30% defense support like that? Like two like what? Okay, because let's take a look at. You know what Gohan should have been? Gohan should have been this unit, exactly this unit, right? First off, this unit gives overall just a better support. Like he can give even extra defense to them being in a certain rotation or a certain team. Does he give a smaller defense buff because he's buffing 2 categories? Is that it? Is that why he doesn't get the attack? It doesn't make sense. But then make him guard and damage reduction. It doesn't even have to be in the first slot. Just make him in the 3rd slot, right? And then have this Trunks be better in slot 1, and then that just works a lot better. That would make Trunks like, it would help Trunks so much, right? But yep, that's the issue. Or just make him exactly like Almond or Racing. That'd be really good. So, Super Vegeta. I want to talk about this guy as well. I think that people don't understand why the Super Vegeta is bad. There's two. The big reason is that these 3 forms, the first 3 forms, my like experience, they just suck. Like early on, they're just not able to tank, right? And then the issue is you need 7 key spheres, but then a way to get 7 key spheres with this unit is purely RNG. Great chance, right? Maybe you don't get it. Maybe you do get it. You know, who knows, right? You can't really tell. If he doesn't get his additional super attack, he doesn't get this extra 50% raise, which I find actually does matter. Like if you miss out one of these 50% raises, I feel like you really do feel it when you get farther into the fight, right? Until about Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, like these first 3 forms are pretty weak defensively, and you know, even Super Saiyan Vegeta and Super Vegeta, you have no hope really taking normals. Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, I feel like if you've been able to get maybe an additional super attack or something like that, you could potentially tank normals, especially once he supers. I've seen him like be able to tank the Sin normals, right? Even I think after his super attack, right? After the super, this guy did have to attack first, get a couple of super attacks off, but it is pretty helpful. And the good thing about here is that it's 6 key spheres for the additional super attack, and his orb changing is guaranteed, right? Which changes from 7 key spheres and a great chance, right? Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta is like where I say he's solid. God Vegeta is like a little above average for sure. I like God Vegeta a lot. Then you know the attack increases quite a bit, less key needed here. Then Blue Vegeta I think is where he's like, okay, there's actually this guy has actually like a good easy ATU war, right? But for these first 3 forms, I feel like, especially the first 2, they're too weak, right? And same thing with Trunks. Trunks is too weak starting off. Gohan is bad in general, but like these units are too weak at the start of turn, and it's like they have a massive jump, like from when they're bad to they're good, and I just think that it's unbalanced, and it really hurts because I mean these bosses nowadays. I mean, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at the hardest boss in the game. Not characters, not events, right? The Omega Shenron fight, and you know, likely in the future we're gonna get harder fights. Worldwide Celebration, we could very well easily just get a fight harder than Omega, right? Omega's hitting you turn 1, 800k super, like frame 1, 800k super attack, right? Transform Vegeta is taking like 80% of your damage, if not getting killed. Trunks pretty much gets killed as well, right? Taking like over at least half of your damage, or half your HP, I mean. And then I don't know. If you get this guy, especially with Transform Vegeta, right? I don't want to count it too much because he's type disadvantage, but if you get Super Vegeta against this guy, you are in very big trouble. Though I don't think that's really common. Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, you're usually able to have out by then. But another thing, like this Omega event is one of the like 5 difficult events in the game or something like that, right? Sin is a lot shorter. You know, let's say Medical Core, and then Broly, and all these events, right? So Max, you're not even gonna get to see Blue Vegeta, which is where this guy's actually good. Most of the time, if you stretch it, you can maybe see Super Saiyan God Vegeta, because it's like, let's say you get this guy turn 1 Super Saiyan, turn 3 Super Vegeta, turn 5 Super Saiyan 2, turn 7 Super Saiyan God, turn 9 Blue. you know, I feel like a lot of times Sin doesn't really last past turn 6 or 7, right? And sometimes you can even finish Sin in like 5 turns or something. Especially with the teams this guy's on, like bond of parent child, you know, pure Saiyans, right? Transformation boost, even like unless you're using him on one of these weaker teams, which I think the good thing about this Vegeta, he's on so many of these teams that would need help. So I like him in that aspect, but I mean, very simple. Like this, like even just for the first 2 transformations, give him like a dodge chance. I think like a dodge chance would be fine. I feel like giving him guard, they wouldn't do that to this unit since he's a stacking defense unit like that. Greatly stacking defense, right? It's huge difference from his pre-EZA form, and he gets double super attack. But he just needs some sort of like defensive utility to help him live these early on super attacks. And I guess, you know, dodge wouldn't really work against the Omega phase, but at least it'd be something in most of the other events in the game. And in the Omega phase, you're usually able to get to Blue Vegeta anyways, whilst every other fight you can't. So I think it's a fair trade-off, right? But yeah, and then we have these 2 EZAs. This Vegeta, he should be just a, I don't know, he should just be better. Let me see. All of this is like fluff. This is all fluff. Like you see all of this is pretty just like it's there, right? It's there, right? This, I don't really like this. He had it pretty easy. I don't really like stats like this where it's like depending on your HP, you get a certain boost, because it's not something you can necessarily control, you know, unless you have a scouter. Like I think that's more easily controllable, but like, you know, sometimes you have to put a unit in a certain spot or else, you know, like, man, who knows, like maybe some units have to be in certain situations. Maybe there's so many attacks that one of these units can't take all these attacks, even normals. Like who knows what kind of team build you're running. So if you do like fall like under 50% HP, I mean, you do technically lose this as well, right? And then you just lose so much of the attack and defense, and you know, I see that very often because again, Trunks doesn't guard, you fall under 50% HP, you lose Gohan's guard, you lose his active skill, you if you're using this Vegeta, you lose his stats, right? So many of the units on that team lose stats and stuff when you're under a certain HP threshold. And it would be nice maybe if this Gohan was better, but even then his heal doesn't reactivate these passive skill passives, right? So like Gohan, you won't get his guard back, the AGL1. This guy, you wouldn't get his additional back. It's just very like odd. I see like what they're trying to go for, but it doesn't work at all, and it's just a fiery ball of mess terribleness. I don't even know how else to explain it. So this video just sucks, right? It just ends up being bad. And then this isn't even activate against a Cell Max, right? So I don't know. It's like they try to make him like, you know, just a generic offensive unit, but especially as a sub EZA banner, you know, like he's fine, like for a sub EZA, but overall he's pretty bad, right? This unit sucks as well. I mean, they're okay, but it's like, I don't know. They're also a unit that's restricted a bit too much, but I mean, like, it'd be fine if, since it's a villain unit, I think I'm okay with it being a little more restricted, because you're gonna want to run him with Brick of Bloodline anyways. But it's like, it'd be nice if you could run him like as a floater and Turles team, and he's giving support to like still coolers or something like that, right? But yeah, and I don't know, his defense, even with this full setup, he doesn't even cap enough defense to make normals in some bosses. So yeah, I don't know. This whole celebration is just kind of weird, and very wonky designs. I just wanted to kind of rant about it and talk about it. Let me know what you guys think, what you would change from these units, right, with Trunks. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.